Hey everyone, it's Dr. Hillary from Rangeline Chiropractic. I wanted to interview Adam today. He is one of the owners from Donatello's, and I know you guys know how much I love that restaurant, and I talk about it on social media all the time. I was hoping Adam could kind of tell us how things are changing now in the whole restaurant field, and not only for your restaurant, but some of the local restaurants here in Carmel.
All right, so a couple things that are going on. So first off, just to kind of take us back to how this started, prior to the governor's stay-at-home order, a lot of restaurants were already seeing a little bit of a decrease in business as people were kind of getting a little more cautious about going out. We saw that as well. And then when the governor made the decision that stay at home and restaurants had to go to carry-out only, it's a huge pivot for a lot of restaurants. Now, some restaurants we're doing great business with carry-out only, but I think a lot of it depends on the style of food. Pizza Hut and Domino's, they were hiring people because they had so much business. The mix of our business kind of changed a little bit. We used to have a lot more, veal and sit-down entrees and wine. And of course, now our business was a lot more pizzas and pastas to share. So we just adapted. Some places just had a slower time for carryout if it was a higher end place with a higher price item, or breakfast places were doing a little harder because sometimes we don't wake up as early for carryout. And then I think they found studies that people only go a certain amount of distance to get their carryout food. So I love eating a lot of places in downtown Indianapolis, but I'll admit I didn't drive a half hour downtown to go pick up carryout food. I kind of stayed within Carmel. So those first few weeks, a lot of places were doing well. I think a lot of businesses, including my own, we started to see it drop off a little bit as the stay-at-home order continued. Some of it, people may just be watching their wallets or watching their waistlines because when you eat out so often, you're trying to do your part, but it's hard to do that. And we do have people who do have less income right now. Maybe their own business closed, maybe business is slowed. And for some people, they may have lost 1/6 of their income. So that does have an effect on spending habits. Now that things are reopening, a lot of restaurants are doing things in a different way. Some, like ours, we reopened Monday, 50%. We did less than 50% because we really wanted to space it out. We wanted to do it right. Some places aren't opening till next week. Some haven't even announced when they're going to open it yet. And the reasons some of the places said they haven't opened yet is either they're trying to get new procedures in place because they want to make sure everything's safe, or they're afraid there just wouldn't be enough business to open. From our perspective, I got to pay the rent either way. So if I have a half-empty dining room, it's better than an empty dining room. And we're still doing a lot of carry-out. In fact, last night, the first night, we found that carry-out far outnumbered the dine-in. And I think it's going to continue that way for a while. So I think restaurants need to adapt. I'm sure we have some business owners watching. Any kind of business owner, you just have to learn how to adapt and adjust. I think that's the key to any kind of business. You may be doing I'll just stick with restaurants. Maybe you have the greatest restaurant. It's awesome. Everyone loves it. But you've been around for 20, 30 years and you never changed a thing about the restaurant. Well, after 20, 30 years, people are going to look for something new, something exciting. And suddenly what was once exciting is kind of stale now. So you've got to always change and adapt. And I think that's kind of true for any business, especially in restaurants.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you feel like in your restaurant also that you'll have to do more reservations to keep that 50% rule in place?
Yeah, so I like reservations. We did a lot of them anyways because I feel you can plan ahead. One of the biggest things in a restaurant is making sure you don't have waste. So having the right amount of food, having enough food to serve all your customers, but not having too much. If you order a bunch of food, either it's going to be old and not great quality for your customers, or you're throwing it in the freezer, which is not great, or you're going to end up throwing stuff away, which you're just wasting money. So in our field, we're always trying to predict exactly how many customers, exactly how many things we're going to sell. And reservations really do help there. They also help with staffing. So if I know I got a ton of reservations, I can schedule an extra person and I can take care of the customers. If I schedule a bunch of employees every night just in case we get busy, well, If it's not that busy, then now I'm paying people who I don't need. And servers, they get kind of irritated if there are 6 servers waiting on 6 tables. They don't want that. They say, you know what, just give me a few less nights and we'll each have a decent night and they can spend time with their families. But you know what, that's going to be the hardest thing right now is predicting, because I know it's a cliche that we keep hearing in these uncertain times, but it's a cliche for a reason, because it really is uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen. And that's kind of scary for a lot of businesses that bank on predictability to predict how much food to produce, how many people to schedule. I know in the supply chain industry, a lot of them, they had their routes just organized to a key. Like we go to this stop, that stop, and they made it the most efficient they could because that's how they made their money. Now, with people saying, take us off the route, you don't need us, it threw off their whole supply chain. So a lot of businesses have seen that. One interesting thing is we're seeing some food prices go up. So you might know that meat processing plants, a lot of them have closed because of safety concerns. And as a result, there's been some shortage on certain types of meat products. And the price either has gone up because of the reduced supply, or you just can't find it. We went to one store and there was no chicken. There was just nothing. Yeah. So we went to another store, eventually found it, but now we're spending more time going from store to store. And this isn't just people at home hoarding for their freezer anymore, because now we're 2 months in. This is a lack of supply because of the processing plants. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see if that gets adjusted soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. We were just joking the other day about how we might have to become vegan. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It might be a hard pass. I love my steaks. What about, how have you seen like Carmel as a community pull together like during this times for restaurants and other small businesses?
So we have kind of guidelines to make sure that everyone is following, the face masks, sanitizing stations, tables spaced apart. And the really great thing is we haven't had any problem with people complying. Now, we don't require that our customers wear masks because it's kind of hard to do that while you're eating. But, you know, interestingly enough, some of them were wearing them. They just kind of took them off when the food came. That's their choice. But I think we saw these stories nationally about people fighting against masks and rules and getting into violence. And here in Carmel, I think we're such a neighborly community. It may not always look like it on social media when people fight, but we actually are a really neighborly community. And we haven't seen any reports of someone throwing a fit at the grocery store because they were asked to wear a mask. So the police haven't gotten called out. So we're a community that comes together. The charitable donations, I know it's going to be tough for a lot of nonprofits now because people, when they have less money, maybe they give a little less. But, you know, some organizations have been overwhelmed. The hospitals, of course, have gotten a lot of food. The Feed the Front Lines that the city did has raised tens of thousands of dollars. The food banks are getting donations, but we got to keep it going. And blood banks are another one that need it. People need to donate blood if they can, because some people are hesitant to at this time. But if you are healthy, they're going to screen it. So that's something else you should do. But I think we're seeing people to come together. We just got to keep doing that. We're always going to find somebody who, you know, is careless and irresponsible. But I always say, don't let those people get to you. Just keep doing something positive yourself, and don't worry about that other person over there that isn't doing what they should be doing. So,
Well, you're right on Main Street in Carmel, and I know you know a lot of the business owners, or probably all of them on Main Street. How is everyone else doing on Main Street?
So, couple of them are different boats. Some of them are newer than others. So across the street, we've got a restaurant called Little Cairo. I think they opened like less than a month before this happened. So that's very difficult. And down the street, I think the same thing with Savor. They were pretty new when this happened. And so we had been around for 10 years. So we kind of built up our customer base, built up our Facebook page and likes, and we were able to kind of contact our customers and let them know how we wanted to do it. But I really feel for those newer businesses because we're talking about trying to get back to normal. Some of them haven't really experienced normal yet because they've only been around for a short period of time. So I hope the customers support them too. My always vibe is, I know we're kind of in competition with each other as different restaurants, but a rising tide raises all ships. So we have to help each other out. I want to see restaurants down the street succeed, because when they do, I succeed, because we create a whole area that people would want to go to pick a night to go out and get something to eat. Maybe you walk past our restaurant on the way to another one, and then you see our menu and you want to go there some other time. So we really do want to see everybody else succeed. And I think that's the smart way for economic development. You don't want to be the only restaurant on a street. You probably won't do as well if you're in an area with a lot of great restaurants.
Yeah, it seems to me like everyone's really pulling together in Carmel, at least on social media and all the groups that I'm in and all the patients of mine that I talk to. Everyone seems to be very supportive. So I love the community, and I love all the outreach that everyone's been doing.
Well, I ran out of paper for my receipt printer, and I'd ordered it, but as you might know, a lot of shipping is delayed right now. Yes. Anyone who tried to order something from Amazon right now and it said will arrive in June, you're like, okay, that's not usually what I expect. No. So I needed some more printer paper. I went down to one of the restaurants down the street. They gave it to me, very nice, and they come and borrow stuff from me. That's kind of the neighborly attitude you have to have.
I agree. Well, one last question before I let you leave and get to work. Tell us your favorite dish at your restaurant. I'm sure you get that question all the time, but inquiring minds want to know, Adam.
So probably I'll give you the most popular dish and my favorite dish. So the most popular dish probably is our tortellini Michelangelo, cheese-filled tortellini with onion, bacon, and mushroom and a blush cream sauce. We were selling a lot of those last night.
I bet.
My favorite dish is something that I hesitate to even say this because it's not on the menu, and now everyone's going to ask for it.
Oh, boy.
I know. But my dad makes a shrimp risotto with tomato, garlic, and basil. That is one of my favorites. It does take a lot of time, so he will be mad at me if a bunch of people see this. But if he gets in the mood to make it, I promise I will post it on our Facebook page. So like our Facebook page, and I will let you know when we have fun stuff like that, different specials and desserts. I'm trying to get my mom to get more time baking. I know you love the cakes. And
I do. Now, she's amazing.
Right now, if we get back in the normal routine, we can get more baking done. So
nice. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate your time, and I hope tonight's dinner rush goes well for you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Adam.
Bye.